Good morning. I'm Kristie Reynolds with the Township Public Library, and I'm the director, and we are doing Cooking with Kristie today. Just as a reminder, I'm not a professional cook. I didn't start cooking until 3 months into the pandemic, and that was because I was tired of prepackaged foods. And previously, we just did a variety of packaged foods, takeout, fast food, and so this is me learning how to cook. One of the things that we like to cook is bacon and eggs for breakfast. So how I start that is with tin foil and putting it over my pan. And the reason I do that is because we're going to put the bacon in the oven. We don't traditionally fry it. I've never been able to fry bacon. I've tried, but it usually comes out black and crispy and then a big oily greasy mess. So I put the tin foil on here, the bacon will go on to the tin foil, and then as it cooks, the grease will melt. And then afterwards, I can take the grease and give it to the dog. Now, bacon and eggs seems like it would be very simple, and really on the outside it is, but it does take a little bit of finagling. If you'll notice, I put some bacon. I kind of put the bacon here as close together as possible. Now today I'm just cooking for my husband and I, so we won't be cooking as big a meal, but as you can see, the bacon doesn't always like to come off like it should. And so you kind of have to be careful with it. We have preheated the oven to 400. We have tried other temperatures, but our oven works best at 400. I have done this recipe, or cooked bacon for a long time. This is one of the few things. I actually got this tip. I went away for a weekend, and they were cooking bacon like this, and that's how I figured out this tip. But we have tried it many ways over the years. We've tried cooking it at 375. We've tried cooking it where I cook halfway through and then flip it over. And what we have found best is cooking it at 400 for 20 minutes. So I like tomatoes with breakfast for some reason. And so then I like them fried in my little pan here with my garlic. So what I do with these is I cut them up. This one doesn't want to cut very well. And half, like this. And then I put them in the tomato. I have pre-rinsed them, if you'll notice. That's why they're in there. And you'll notice I didn't put any sauce in there, or any like spray or cooking spray. And that's because these pans are a non-stick pan, and when you read through the directions, they say don't put any spray or on them because it'll corrode it. Then I use about a half a teaspoon of garlic on there, and I cook it over here on the small side, and I cook it about 4 or 5, and it takes about 5 or 6 minutes to cook. We have put the bacon in, and it is getting ready to cook. So now what I'm really excited about, Patrick has been researching how to make the perfect scrambled eggs. I'm not the biggest fan of scrambled eggs. I much prefer them as a dipping egg, but I was so excited when he came up with this recipe and this way to do it. So what we start out doing is putting our pan between 4 and 5 heat wise, and then we crack the eggs in here. We let the pan heat up, which is something that I had never done. I always put the eggs in cold. Also, when I scrambled eggs, I'd always just put the eggs in the pan instead of scrambling them ahead of time. Okay, so then we scramble the eggs. And I don't know if you can hear it back here, but my tomatoes are starting to sizzle, so because they're starting to sizzle, as soon as I get these scrambled up, we're only doing 4 eggs today because it's just Patrick and I. Normally we would cook more because the boys love scrambled eggs. Claire, I think she likes them. I'm not so sure. Okay, so you start with putting the eggs in and just letting it set for a minute and letting it get pretty solid. And then you're going to put the cheese over it, and usually it's a pretty generous amount. I would say we used about 3/4 of a cup here. We're gonna let that cook for just a minute. Then, while we're doing that, I'm gonna show you my tomatoes. What I do is I just let it cook and kind of mix in together. The tomatoes, when they're mushy, is when this is going to be it was going to be ready. Okay, I do add a little bit of salt and pepper just to taste. Okay, so now what you do is you've got a pretty solid layer down there, so you whisk them, you whisk the bottom and you whisk it together, and you make sure that all of the eggs are mixing with the salad, and you're breaking up that part, and you're mixing the cheese in, which is really making it nice and giving it a good flavor. I love cheese with eggs. And then sometimes what we will do is break up sausage or cut up sausage and put sausage in the eggs as well. So then after you feel like you've got it really mixed well, you put it back on the heat for another minute or so. So after another minute, we're going to take it off and we're going to whisk it again. The important part about these scrambled eggs, which is something that I have always done wrong, is to make sure that you don't overcook the eggs and that they don't become too hard. You want them to have still a softness because they will continue to cook from the heat of the pan. And once you feel that the eggs are pretty much done, you can take them off the heat. And then we'll add salt and pepper to them at the very end. The bacon was actually done a little bit sooner because usually we cook twice as much bacon, so it was only there for about 17 minutes. So once the bacon is done, you take it out of the oven, and of course it's been cooking in this grease and it's all greasy, so we put it on paper towel over here. And then if you'll notice, there's grease left over, and our dog loves the grease. So we just give that grease to him as a little treat for so patiently waiting for the bacon he's not going to get. So you did not see it, but we did put paper towel over the bacon to kind of take some of the grease away as well. And this is our finished breakfast. Thank you for watching.